Welcome to Mums at the Table. I'm Rachel. I'm here with my posse, Jonah.
Posse. I'm one person.
That's all I need. So coming up today, we've got Amanda, our nutritionist, and Dr. Simone, our GP. Don't forget, if you've got a question for them, you are welcome to write that in. We would love to pass that on to them to answer for you. Now, we're going to talk about fears and in particular going back into the workforce. So you've been out of work for a while, heading back. There's those fears and intimidating feelings of going back into that.
Look, I think for me, part of the fear was leaving the kids, which I think that is probably most mums' fears. Also for me, the lack of education. Like I had been out of the workforce for about 4 or 5 years.
And it can change a lot in that time.
Yeah, and the industry I was going back into was accounting, or bookkeeping. So, and a lot of it had changed. We'd gone on to cloud software and stuff like that. So I was behind the 8 ball when I went back. So yeah, I was a bit fearful of all of that.
I think that, I can completely relate to that. It's sort of you want to feel competent, like you want to feel like you can contribute, do a good job. You don't want to come back and feel like you're the worst person in the room, the office, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think, that fear is very real. We interviewed Michelle Gibbings on this show a while ago and she said something that has stuck with me the whole time. She said, if you can, keep a toe in the door, whether that's working part-time, whether that's catching up for lunch with those colleagues, whether that's just keeping in touch with them so that you're, I guess, not on top of, but you're just keeping aware of what's going on in your industry, you know, any changes there. And that's really stuck with me and I think that's great advice.
Yeah, very good advice. A thing that I did was I spent a lot of time in prayer trying to get rid of the guilt and the shame of, you know, not being well educated going back into the workforce because I felt really embarrassed that I hadn't kept up with it all.
Well, it's intimidating.
Yes.
Because you walk back into a scenario where everyone's on top of their game, they know how it runs, and you come in and you don't want to slow them down.
Yeah.
So it is intimidating, it's a fear. I think that's because we hold ourselves to a certain standard.
Yes.
And you've just got to, you really do have to go, do you know what? I have to give myself the space to learn this.
Yeah.
I have to forgive myself. I'm going to make mistakes. So accept that before you walk into that process.
And also realising, and my husband said this to me, was that I had learned a whole lot of other skills being at home with the children, patience being one of them, that I probably didn't have before.
I think we actually underestimate some of those skills that we learned outside the workplace that we can actually bring back in and utilise. So you can also write down a list of the skills that you have, the skills you have outside, like that you've learned outside the workplace. Give yourself that confidence boost.
Yeah, because it will give you the confidence to be able to see those skills when you're having a bad day.
Because we all have those fears. I think we just need to remember to be kind to ourselves. It's a long process.
Hey, I'm sitting down with Dr. Simone. We're talking about should you push your child to start walking early? Should you?
No.
I don't think so.
But that was a bit too short an answer.
Obviously, we know
could be done.
you do not want your house turned upside down, so don't push your child to start walking earlier. But there's a purpose to this.
I have the greatest sympathy for parents whose children walk before they ought to. I just feel as though they are just exhausted before their time. But no, look, being mindful of is your child meeting their developmental milestones from a mobility point of view is really important.
Yeah.
So we like babies to roll over around about from the age of 4 months onwards, to show an interest in sitting at 6 months, crawling 7 to 8 months.
Yes.
Walking can start the earliest is sort of 9, 10 months. Up to 14, 15 months is still well and truly within a normal range for that.
And it's great. It's great if your child does start walking early. Props to you.
Absolutely.
But if they don't, is there some concerns to what we should be looking for if our child is not even wanting to stand up or,
So if your child is showing an interest in movement but is a little bit on the slow side, there's a few things that can contribute to that. Babies who are at the higher end of the percentile chart, so bigger babies, tend to take a little bit longer to start moving because there's more bulk to move, there's more mass to move. Smaller babies can sometimes start moving faster, but there's no hard and fast rules with that. But the key is that if your child is if you're getting to 9 months and your kid's not even interested in sitting, or if they're not interested in crawling by the time they get to 1, then it's really important that you get that checked out with your doctor in terms of is everything else meeting the appropriate developmental milestones.
So by 12 months, they should be making some attempt to try and stand up?
So, well, if I guess the stage that we talk about as being one of those cruising stages.
Right.
So not when they're walking independently, but they're pulling themselves up on things. So walking along the edge of a couch or those sorts of things, holding on to something. Yeah. And if you want to help support them and help them practice that motion, then that's great, absolutely. And developing muscle strength and making sure that they've got great nutrition so that they have all the nutritional elements to be able to support that movement is really important as
I know
well.
you talked about some of the concerns if they're not developed. What can we do as parents if we are concerned? Should we go see our GP or...
So seeing the GP is a great first step. There's really specialised children's physiotherapists who can give us some wonderful tips on how to safely help your child to be more interested in movement. Being on a kid's level and interacting with them at their level, encouraging them when you're down next to them is a really good thing to do. Okay,
but don't force them to start walking at
you're not going to breed the next Usain Bolt that way.
Yeah, so important. Look, thank you so much, Dr. Simone, for sharing some insight on that. I think as parents, you kind of go with common sense, what works for you and what doesn't. But yeah, don't force your child to walk. You do not want that. That's a whole different drama. So look, keep it locked right here at Mums at the Table, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Welcome to another nutritional segment here with Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Gia.
How are you today?
Yeah, great.
Happy?
Ecstatic.
Because we're together, that's right. We're actually talking about an interesting topic today about whole grains. And I know whole grains and kids don't mix, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So can you maybe explain to us what whole grains is, the difference between whole grains?
Sure. So a whole grain means that the grain is intact. So it has all 3 parts, the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. Refined grains or white grains and flours, they are missing 1 or 2 of those parts. The result of that is that these refined grains end up with less fibre, it's about 1/3 to half less fibre, vitamins and minerals and phytonutrient content than what is in whole grains.
Okay, so it's sort of stripped of its nutrients in a way.
That's right. Okay. That's right. And something that's so great about whole grains is that they're really high in fibre. So they're great for our digestive health. So they help keep us full, they prevent constipation, they feed the good bacteria in our guts. And regularly eating whole grains has also been shown to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, weight gain, as well as bowel cancer as well. So they're really good for us.
Are huge.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
And especially the constipation part. When you said constipation, I'm thinking my daughter could definitely do with more whole grains. And so how do you get this in your kid?
That's right, exactly. So how do we get them to eat more whole grains? So if we first maybe talk about bread. So you could start with something that's a bit lighter, like a multigrain bread, which is made out of white flour and has added seeds, or a lighter wholemeal, just to get them used to
something similar to this.
Yeah, before you go, right into the whole grain bread, start with something a little bit lighter. You could also do half white and half wholemeal for their sandwiches.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that one, as long as they don't flip it over.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah. Another really easy thing to do is to use half wholemeal flour and half white flour when you're cooking.
Yes.
So it works great for pizza doughs, if you make your own bread, muffins,
pancakes,
biscuits.
pie
That's right, exactly.
That's
a really
awesome.
easy
Great
one.
idea.
Something else you can do is you can use wholemeal pasta or brown rice in some of your kids' favourite things like macaroni cheese or fried rice.
So it's covered with everything.
That's right. It's not eaten by itself. The flavour's covered up a little bit, but they're still getting used to that texture and flavour.
That's some great ideas. And even little things like this pocket, I'd like to say, you can cut it in half and you can fill it with things.
Yeah.
So you can make it interesting with the kids. And something you said before is that you could take them shopping.
That's right. There's so many different whole grain products available. So take them shopping, get them to pick a new one each week that they want to try. It might be a bit of trial and error until they find something they like, but this is a bit of a small selection, but there's lots of different things to try.
And so they take ownership that way as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we'll see you next time. If you like these topics, please like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube on our channel, Mums at the Table. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Amanda.
As mothers, we hear it all the time. Do your Kegels, do your Kegels, and do your Kegels. But why should we do our Kegels? Well, that's why Dr. Peter Wood is here to join me and talk about why it's important for us to do our Kegels. And what is it?
Okay. So Kegels, I guess it was a Dr. Kegel who invented these things, but I don't actually know who he is. But basically, pelvic floor exercises is really important, sort of daily or even several times a day routine that women should actually get involved with.
What age group are we talking about? Are we talking about high school?
I would suggest all age groups.
Okay.
And getting into a healthy habit of doing them on a regular basis is a really good idea.
Okay.
So just in summary, the pelvic floor is what sort of holds everything together. When you cough and sneeze, if you don't have good pelvic floor muscles, then you might leak a bit of urine.
Right.
And so, or other things, you know, we won't go there. But the pelvic floor exercises are basically, if you can imagine you're sitting on the toilet, you're passing urine, and then you squeeze your muscles so that you stop that urine from flowing, right? That is the pelvic floor muscle contraction, right? So that's the key, and that's the hardest bit, is to get your head around how to actually do that.
But you shouldn't do this on the toilet.
Correct.
In the middle.
That's right. So you only do it when but that's just a little to get your brain in the right place as to where to actually, which muscle to push or to squeeze.
Yes.
But then I recommend you do a set of exercises like this, where you do 10. This is not on the toilet. This is at other times, right?
Yes.
So you do 10
when you're not
quick
wanting
ones.
To go to the toilet.
Correct.
With an empty bladder.
Empty bladder at any time, right?
Okay.
Do 10 quick ones where you squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. I'm using as if I'm pretending to squeeze. And then you do 5 where you hold it for 10 seconds.
Yes.
And then relax for 10 seconds, then hold it for 10 seconds. So the whole thing takes you about 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
Best time to do it, sitting at traffic lights.
Yes.
TV commercials. These are the times which happen a lot.
How often should you do it?
You should do it 3 or 4 times a day.
Right.
If you're a breastfeeding mum, another good time to do it is when you are breastfeeding.
Okay.
Right? Because often after childbirth, these muscles can have a bit of a response to the childbirth experience.
If you keep doing these exercises, will it strengthen the pelvic floor area?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's the idea.
And good pelvic floor health is really good for doing it now. Means it'll pay dividends later on in life as things deteriorate with your hormones.
Is there a time where we shouldn't be doing our Kegels?
Just when you're on the toilet.
Right.
Yeah. So and the other thing is, if you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, try and consciously contract your pelvic floor muscles first before the cough or the sneeze happens.
Yes.
And that really is good for your pelvic floor.
Okay.
If you don't have them contracted when you cough and sneeze, it puts this big pressure wave on your pelvic floor muscles, and it can be bad.
Thanks so much, Dr. Peter Wood, for those awesome tips. Now, I know one thing for sure, and it's never too late to start working that pelvic floor muscle. So get onto your Kegels and do that exercise now. It'll pay off in the long run.
Okay, so our kids are growing up like bean sprouts. They're growing and growing and growing. What are the favourite moments?
Of them getting older?
Yeah.
Oh.
What are you enjoying about it?
Where do I start? No secret here, I really struggled when they were younger. I found that really hard, so that was quite a difficult time for me. So watching them get older is just beautiful for so many reasons. One, I can actually talk to them and we can reason together. We can have conversations. We can find things that we even like and enjoy doing together. You know, you can go for a bike ride with them. You can have those social times with them. There are so many things I'm enjoying. Yes, there are hard bits, but there are some great bits too. But you have the beauty of hindsight. Your kids are young adults now. What did you sort of see and enjoy as they got older? Because they're older than my kids.
Yeah, I think for me, there were a few things. Just because it was really, really hard, and most people that you talk to find that it's really hard in the trenches. There was the times just to be able to look back at them and go, there were moments, just pockets of moments that we really, really enjoyed. Like, for instance, one day I took Aaron out for a walk and he's picking these flowers off the side of the road, just those yellow buttercup things. And he'd take them home and put them in a vase and thought he was just wonderful. And for me, it's treasuring those moments, knowing that it was really, really hard, but there were pockets of sunshine coming through for me. And I think now it's looking back and going, I didn't do too bad a job at parenting, because part of it is really hard to know whether you've done a good job. When you're in the trenches, am I doing a good job? Am I doing the right things? All these other people are doing other stuff, and am I doing it or not? And I can look back now and go, yep, it wasn't too bad.
And I think that's what we all hope for, that when we get to that stage we can look back and, you know, not feel like a complete failure, because it is hard when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And I always used to resent it when people would say to me, cherish these moments, because I was in the thick of it when they would say that, and I'm like, how do I cherish this moment that I'm just hating so much? But now I'm finding myself saying that to other people.
Yeah.
So it does get better.
And I've learnt from you. I've actually stopped saying that after you've said that to me a number of times. Don't say that. You're ruining my moment.
Look, it's actually a good reminder, because when you're in the thick of it, it's a bit more woe is me. But it is actually nice to have that reminder. I'm just justifying it now because I'm saying it to others. But look, do cherish those moments. They are beautiful. Remind yourself of that. Take hold of them. It does get better. When they're older, it does get better. It really does. That is all we've got time for today. We will see you next week. I hope you have a good one.